it's going to be an issue. And you're looking, the Chinese are in the middle of all this stuff too, because the last thing they want to do is drive up food prices and get American farmers saying, well, I'm not selling you chicken for that. You're going to pay this. I'm not selling my pigs to you, Smithfield. You're going to pay that. So I think, we're getting a lot of that cloudiness too, because, the biggest food consumer in the world doesn't want food prices to go higher. So, yeah, but I think it'll leak out here and there, but I don't think the American people are unaware anymore. They go to the grocery store 3 to 4 times a week. They fill their tank up once or twice a week. It's out there. Okay. People have already lost faith in the narratives being presented to them as facts.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us again for the next month's talk here. I'm with Bob Kudla, tradelikeagenius.com. And we come into the fertilizer shortages, which are going to be about 12% globally. Herbicides you might start to hear about now. And when words like anhydrous start to make the water cooler talk, well, you're right in the middle of a repeating chapter of history. We're going to go short-term chapter of history, Arab Spring. Well, we can go out into different multi-century cycles when governments collapse, people migrate, and famine sweeps the land. How will governments react, do you think, is probably the question. Yeah, let me pick your brain on an article I was reading about a vendor had a product and was offered a Walmart contract. But the stipulation in the contract was, we pay you at 120 days. And he was like, no way. And I don't know if we're going to see the same thing with this food and supply chain, more mainly focused on foods, where the supplier or the seller, the grower of the food, will more happily deal with somebody who's paying at delivery and they're walking out of there with a check in their hand, or on a 30-day, versus some of these conglomerates and corporate entities are out at 120 days. And they're trying to bring on new supply chains where, part of their traditional feed into supply XYZ store could be fresh produce, could be fruits, could be frozen fish, meats, whatever. Well, something got knocked out in that particular leg of the supply chain. So they're out there looking for something else, different countries of origin, different states of origin, whatever it would be. But I was just curious what you think about, going to cash is king, where suppliers and sellers of food really will just say, anybody that's paying me longer than 30 days or not going to pay me in cash immediately, I don't want to deal with. And then what kind of stores and, corporations are running on that? Or it's going to be smaller, I would believe, but I'm just curious what you think about that. That was the crux of the article. Now, any teeth in that, or do you think they're just talking out the side of their mouth?
No, I think it's both. And, look, if you're talking like Walmart and Amazon and stuff like that, people do those deal with the devil. And this I've experienced here because I ran strategic planning business development for a large corporation. The trade-off is that, you allow me to do it's basically called negative inventory, right? So they'll sell the product before they pay you. All right. So they're running what's called negative inventory, which is they're basically, you're floating them. But the benefit to you is that they're going to give you a large market. Okay. You roll that dice when you have excess supply, that you want to go ahead and make sure you're covering your fixed costs. The downside is you're going to wait 4 months for your money, but the upside is you will get paid, and they are consistent and they don't jerk your chain. Okay. But those are the rules, but they honor those rules. That check will come. So those are the people that aren't so much the problem. It's going to be the second tier companies that will start trying to float you, that you won't know if they're going to pay you. Okay. And those are the people where I think the issue is going to come. And, if you're a small producer, and you want to, if you can go direct to market, you're going to do awesome. Okay. If you're a small producer and you have to rely on a broker to move your product, they can really start to squeeze you. And that's what's happening a lot. That's why beef is such a problem. I think that's going to resolve itself because farmers will get to a point where there's too much, or ranchers, where there's too much pain. And when you have too much pain, then you go ahead and you start developing co-ops, okay? Or you start doing what's called direct to customer. and then you actually hire out a company actually to perform that broker work, but they don't control. They're not controlling pricing anymore. They're just actually a work product for you. So yeah, so I think it's a little bit of everything. Look, at the end of the day, if I was stuck and my only customer was Amazon and Walmart or Costco, whatever, I'd feel a lot better than if my customer was Joe Schmid, broker, that he's also now getting squeezed by the grocery store. Okay. So, because that's what's going to happen. The crap's going to roll backwards. The grocery store is going to squeeze those middle guys, and the middle guys that can't compete are going to squeeze the farmer. And, to the extent the farmers can band together, then they'll be fine. Or you basically skip a step and you go to the big guy like and Kroger does the same thing. Some of his big guys, they want the small producer. Okay. So I don't think they're not gonna screw each other, because they know things ebb and flow. And these farmers now are getting more and more power. They're flush. The grain producers 3 years ago, remember when you couldn't get rid of your corn and wheat. You got Cargill and ADM and all those guys that are just pushing on you. Well, now your stuff's coming. They're begging you for your stuff. You're not even keeping. In fact, a lot of these farmers now are actually growing cattle on their property. There's a couple of farmers that I follow that, basically just had 4 or 5 head of cattle for their own family. Now they have 50 to 100 head. And they have 800 acres of corn and wheat. Well, guess what? They're not taking that corn and wheat to the market anymore. They're throwing up elevators on their own property, and they're cracking their own grain and feeding it right to their own animals in-house. And so you're going to start seeing more of that. And so, yeah, I think, the article's not wrong, but, probably wrong enemy, if you will. The enemy is going to be the company, all those middlemen you don't know the name of. Okay. So it's going to be interesting. And so that's my view on it, is that, look, if I was a farmer, you better not get to the market directly. When I was executive at a company, I always told people that work for me, if you're not touching a customer, like physically daily, you're going to be irrelevant. And I would say same to a producer, if you're not touching your end user customer, the end user of your product, you're going to be irrelevant. So that's what you have to do if you're a small producer. You better be going to the people that are eventually going to consume your solution, or you're not going to make it.
Yeah, it takes so many different avenues as well. And, they're down there and they're scraping bin bottoms already. And, once you scrape a bin bottom clean, there's nothing else left in there. So just in your estimation, when we get these crop reports of the planting acreage, the emergence reports, the first month after emergence, we're getting all these reports here. So when do you think that the USDA will come clean with the problems we're having planting, the fertilizers there, the herbicide, the weed, broadleaf and grass controls between everything? At what point do you think that it's actually going to start making the mainstream news, where just anybody sitting at home will see it on MSNBC, or anybody sitting at home will see it on their favorite propaganda channel? At what point will the USDA come clean enough where it'll hit the business news first, like I say, MSNBC, that'll transition over into the nightly news where everybody would see it? Because there is a progression when they do plant, when they harvest, the emergence, and then, coming into last stand projected. There's a lot of different variables that they're ticking off by the month, every 2 weeks within a month, as we start here getting into April. So timelines on that before, there is an awakening. A lot of people are understanding it, but at the full point where, oh no, we really got to start thinking about what we're going to do here now. How many months from now do you think that would be?
Yeah. When's the election? They're going to obfuscate all the way until the election.
You think they will, huh?
Yeah, of course, because the last thing Biden wants to do is to have people know that we have a non-transitory increase in food costs. So they'll blame it on a million and myriad other things. Look, I already know they're going to blame food shortages on climate change. Okay, it's not going to be because we made the price of natural gas so high because of our stupid policies that you can't put fertilizers on the ground so that for the yields to go down. No, it's going to be climate change is causing yields to fall. So yeah, so they're going to obfuscate, and so that doesn't change. You have to be your own Berean. You're going to have to do your own homework. They're understanding it, and also people that are being blamed are now becoming more vocal, saying, "Hey, don't put this on me. I'm not causing this problem. The weather isn't causing this problem, and the issue is here and here, and so those are things that are going to start showing up. Look, I think people are already aware of food. Look, beef prices are where I live, they're plentiful but very expensive. What I find fascinating is you can't get whole chickens, but you can get chicken parts. So I'm trying to, even at Costco, I'm trying to understand what's up with that. Why is that an issue? You can't get chicken wings. Why is that? Each chicken has 2 wings, right? If there's chicken legs, why aren't there chicken wings? So these are the kind of things that are I think people are questioning that eventually the reporters are going to do it and start talking about it. And here, I'll give you an example. So today, one of my subscribers at Trade Genius, that we have a room that we actually can talk to each other. So you're going to start seeing people say, "Hey, you know what? I'm losing audience. Maybe if I do an expose on why we don't have chicken parts, right? It's going to be an issue." And you're looking, the Chinese are in the middle of all this stuff too, because the last thing they want to do is drive up food prices and get American farmers saying, "Well, I'm not selling you chicken for that. You're going to pay this. I'm not selling my pigs to you, Smithfield. You're going to pay that." So I think we're getting a lot of that cloudiness too, because the biggest food consumer in the world doesn't want food prices to go higher. So yeah, but I think it'll leak out here and there. But I don't think the American people are unaware anymore. They go to the grocery store 3 to 4 times a week. They fill their tank up once or twice a week. It's out there. Okay, people are already lost faith in the narratives being presented to them as facts.
And you look at government to control some of these issues, your food prices, your energy prices. I mean, getting price out of the market is exactly what happened with Kazakhstan. Now, here in the States, some of these forecasts coming out, Bank of America, $120 a barrel oil by the end of the year. And then I found oilforecast.com. And if you go out there, they're going out to 2023 at $170 a barrel, $150. I mean, at some point, people are going to go, whoa, you know what? The right to rule needs to be revoked, because what was given as you're supposed to control this to keep the economy moving, opportunities coming, things at a cheaper level of cost so we can enjoy our lives while we continue to be tax slaves here. Once all that goes out and it's strictly working just to have a roof over your head, pay your taxes and eat, at that point, the right to rule is being revoked. So, higher oil prices coming into that too. It's going to be a rude awakening coming up. Like you say, if you believe that they're going to obfuscate all the way out until the election, and then suddenly people just go to the grocery store in December and things have tripled or not available, and they just don't get the mechanisms of the inputs into the farming. And then they realize that, wait, all this information wasn't being told to us. Who hid this information all through the planting season, all through the summer? And then at that point, there might be some very vocal people on the street. And then where do we see it again? That just reverts us right back to the beginning of what the talk here was. We get back into an Arab Spring. I mean, is it possible in the States to have an Arab Spring? I'm really curious.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're already having it. We just do it differently here in the United States. We're geographically diverse. Okay, so it's not like one country where you have single points of failure. The United States is more durable than that. Our Constitution is decentralized. Our political leadership is decentralized. Our country is geographically decentralized. So our economic is economically decentralized. Our population is decentralized. So we won't have a spring like that. Everybody always wants to foment that, but the fomenters are all sitting in cities. Okay. And so their ability to reach is quite limited, and so I don't worry. That's not on my worry list. you know, what's on my worry list are these supply chains breaking down that will cause real harm to people in certain parts of the, the world. I think, people don't realize that Los Angeles, okay, you have to go through 3 passes to get out of LA. People don't know that. You got to go through Banning Pass to get out to the east. You got the Cajon Pass to get out towards Vegas. You got the Grapevine to get out towards the coast. And if you head south, you're in Mexico, right? So, and then same with in San Diego, you have to go through about 3 or 4 passes to get out into El Centro, right? Or out into the Borrega Desert. So, it's very easy for like LA, where you can get supplies chopped up. The Long Beach Harbor sits on the Newport Inglewood fault. Okay, we had a 8 point or 7.0 earthquake or 6.6 or whatever in Long Beach in the 30s. Can you imagine an earthquake of that magnitude hitting within 3 or 4 miles of the port of Long Beach? Okay, it'll tear out all the railroad lines there. Okay, because they head straight on through across that fault. You know where they put that new stadium, SoFi Stadium, sitting right over top of the Newport Inglewood fault in Inglewood. Okay, and it runs right off my coast, runs right down to San Diego, where you have the Rose Canyon fault, which is a 9.0 potential earthquake. So, LA and San Francisco and Seattle could all go offline with a major geological effect. So I worry more about those things with a fragile supply chain. And the reason why we're fragile is because we have the central governments that you just eloquently put out there, involved in every way, shape, or form of our life. They create fragility. So that's what I worry more about. I worry about what the government will do to people in terms of just incompetence and interference, than I worry about the American people rising up against each other. Okay, and we'll be tested with that, and it won't take much, and I think those things will be more likely to come to pass, and that's why you have to have backup, if you will, within your own life. And I think a lot of people are already noting that. What's the benefit of living in San Francisco if they're going to keep me locked up in a box in my house, right? Where if I leave the house, my car gets destroyed. So I'll move out to Reno. I'll move up to Montana. I'll push out to Tennessee. Okay, I'll go to Texas. I'll move to Florida. I'll move to Georgia. So, so you're already starting to see the wave has already begun, Dave. So, which is good because we've been waiting to monetize this for a long time, and we're monetizing it. You and I we both made decisions in our life based on what we thought was going to happen, that we're now enjoying the fruits of it. You doing what you're doing on the ag and ag education side, and me on the trading side, is that people don't realize this. You and I have been talking. We're some of the first interviews that we ever had are with each other in this whole new world of podcasts. You and I have been doing this for 7 years, and you remember we were up at midnight trying to do things in Morse code. Now we have all this technology now. And when we were talking, this stuff was all coming in 5 or 6 years. Now this stuff's already in our rearview mirror, and now we're literally on the slip and slide. And so, so I think it's there, Dave. I just sense your frustration that they'll never openly talk about it. I think you're a minister hoping that the sinners come clean. Well, they're not going to come clean. They're going to be forced into church.
At needlepoint.
At needlepoint. So but look, you guys listening, take advantage of it, and if I could plug our service for a little
Please
bit, is that we do quite well. We understand the macro trends. That's my background, and we built algorithms to be able to monetize those activities, and so we have a very good track record on trading. We can see the good, we can see the bad. We don't get blinded by our own hopes and wishes. The market tells us where the activity is. So we have 2 algorithms that run together. One looks at the range, one looks at the trend, looks at the money flow, and then our trades are set up from that. So people who trade with us, stocks or crypto, you can get access to these tools. You get access to our chat room. I put a trade out every day. We put trades out on crypto every day. So you can go ahead and join us. We have 7 bundles we put together, from basic long-term trades to you could day trade in a VIP room, and 65% off pre-discounted. And if you want to just get promo code winter, you get 40% off of anything that's not bundled. And Dave, I shot over some notes of just some of our customers saying just this week, people are so thankful. We warned them after the holiday rally, the Christmas rally, if you will. We warned them on a hangover coming into this with Powell and inflation. Okay, and then we got people right back on these last 2 days where they're trying to squeeze the market from a short position. We caught these moves up again too. So we'll go ahead and get you on the right side of these trades. We'll help you make a lot of money, but more importantly, we'll give you a toolkit where you can actually be independent and become a more effective trader.
And remember, the Chinese have a saying about the world situation where we sit today: Wei Ji, opportunity in the danger. So those 2 characters for Wei Ji, one of them is opportunity and the other is danger, and you put those together and that creates that word. So think about where it is right now and the opportunities, because there is so much change, flux, chaos, and unknowns happening. But if you can forecast a little bit out there, Bob, I appreciate you spending your time with us today. And I'll leave that link in the description box below, so you can head over to tradelikeagenius.com and look a little more information, what might be suitable for you. Any last words, Bob?
No, I think what you and I talked about today is not going to change. So it might be ebbing and flowing, but these things are happening, and you need to get in front of them because they're just going to get more intense over the next 24 months.